talking to my reporter, some of them pretty seasoned back there, and they said that it is time to go public. If you defend the Republic, if you believe in defeating these people, you've got to fight in the info war. 90% of war is information. We have the moral high ground. When you're being taught to confiscate guns and being taught that people that are prepared, like Mormons and Amish and people, and that's who they're targeting, Christians, conservatives, libertarians, when you're being taught they're the enemy, folks, that is Soviet Union, man. That is so bad. And believe me, I'm at the top of the list here. I'm getting chills right now. But I'm just like, hey, praise God, I've done the right thing. I've been right. I've studied this. We're trying to stop this as best we can. We need to pray for this country. We need to pray for those that have been steadfast and have tried to be good. We need to pray to avert this. But, you know, then I think, well, this country's killed 52 million babies in abortion. This country's been the heart of the empire. And, of course, we're going to be brought down for it. It's just look at how they destroy the troops. Everything they do is to hurt them. Everything they do is to demonize them. They give them deadly, illegal anthrax shots. It's illegal to give that experimental shot. That's come out in court. They just keep doing it. They gave them experimental smallpox shots, but it killed so many, they had to stop it a few years ago. And they just do this to these people while finding the ones that'll shoot at Americans. Just like TSA. It's there to find people that'll grab old ladies' genitals. They're creating an army of idiots and evil people and control freaks and perverts. And they just can't find a lot in the military ranks, even though a lot of poor people and stuff join the military. They still, you know, people know they can be killed doing it, so you still get some good people in the military because they're people that have courage. And even if you're silly and ignorant, you've got guts, and guts is enough. To quote Full Metal Jacket, and it's true. And you know what? It's time to codify your facts. It's time to go public. Then they'll call you in and threaten to court-martial if you don't shut up. Then everybody shuts up. But by then, it's already out. It's time for all the officers that aren't total scum and for the enlisted people and the non-commissioned officers and others. I mean, to speak out and to say no to this. I mean, here's the Washington Times right here. Napolitano stands by controversial report. Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano said Wednesday that she was briefed before the release of the controversial intelligence assessment. We released that. And that she stands by the report which lists returning veterans among terrorist risk to the U.S. That was April 16, 2009. Okay? Now, we've released, I don't know, probably 20 of these reports over the years we've been given by FBI, federal marshals, state police, military, you name it. And people always go, that can't be real until they admit it's real. Since then, we've gotten re-education camp documents that the Army responded to and said, yeah, those are real. You're not supposed to have those. And then they released it. It's like Ted Turner saying, I think troops should commit suicide on CNN 2 days ago, and it's not even a news issue. We're that broken. We'll put up with anything now. We're going to go to break, and I want to hear from military. I want to hear from police. And I'll try to go to you as quickly as possible. Make your statement, go to the next person, because I'm bad about asking 50 questions. And look, you got to choose a side here. I mean, this is a master plan to take over. I studied history. It's an amalgamation of what every authoritarian's done in the last 100 years. I mean, it gives me chills. I'm getting chills right now. Makes me grind my teeth. I don't normally do that. Just makes me clench my teeth. It is so real. It is so authoritarian. It is so bad. If they're able to execute this, if they pull the trigger on this, man, we're going to enter hell on earth. We're talking civil war. They're going to brand as a revolution. They're going to break up the U.S. They're going to bring in foreign troops after the military and the police go into this war against the American people. And it's targeted. They're going to have us, the patriots, long knife the police and military. Don't be part of this, you idiots. Especially arrogant police that think it's fun to be a tyrant. It's not going to be fun once the gloves come off. We do not want to go here. We do not want to have this happen. They've got fake anonymous groups and others and talk show hosts and others who are being able to say things on air and things that I know they're agents like Hal Turner, calling for violent storming of the White House, calling for killing, calling for bombing government buildings in the name of patriots right now, the day before the election. That's all being pushed right now. They're trying to get something going right now. You've heard the police call in, and we later confirmed it in St. Louis. They're telling them, after the election, get ready for total collapse. I don't know that's a foregone conclusion. We can stop this if we get the word out. But I'm telling you, the enemy is testing everything right now. And if they think they can win a civil war, or if they think they can execute this and if they think you're going to roll over, like Lindsey Williams' source said, hey, if we roll over to these tests without getting really angry and vocal, they're going to pull the trigger. Every other country's been overrun and taken over by authoritarians. Every country in the last 100 years. And they line people up and blow their heads off. They rape and kill your wife and daughters. Or put them in slave camps. And I'm not going along with this. Okay? Now, thank God we're America, and thank God our founders enshrined that Second Amendment and a fighting spirit. That's the one thing we've got these other countries didn't have. That's the one thing the globalists, one thing gives them pause is that. For more than 6 years, I've talked on the air about creating a social network. PlanetInfowars.com is in its beta phase. We're just launching it. And I want to invite all of you out there to be in on the ground level. Planet Infowars is about people coming together, forming activist organizations, getting involved politically, hunting and fishing, gardening, dating. This is a place for people who love freedom to meet and to talk and to write and to post information. And I give you this pledge. We are not going to spy on you and sell your data to the New World Order. PlanetInfowars.com is free, so people who love freedom can get together, connect with people who are awake and know what we're facing. Be active, organize, take action, go viral, create, contribute, resist, because resistance is victory. You are victory. It's waiting for you to breathe power into it. PlanetInfowars.com. Look at what we already put up with. The TSA takes your children to private rooms and take their clothes off. They stick their hands in your pants. There's checkpoints all over the country. The IRS takes houses without even a jury trial or anything. They announce on the news, world government has conquered the United States. We are going deeper and deeper and deeper into classical authoritarianism. I could go on for hours, all the examples of corruption and tyranny. You know, yesterday I called the Austin City Council criminal. And, you know, I was talking about how most cities are run by people that just engage in all sorts of inside deals, all sorts of things. And here it is today, and then I'll get into the really big news in your phone calls. Out of the Austin American-Statesman, KXAN, you name it, City Council warned on open meetings violation. County attorney agrees to defer prosecution. And for over a decade, they meet in secret. They give each other business deals. They all sorts of sweetheart deals. I mean, it's like Chicago or New York or something, and they just break everybody's will. And, of course, it turns out that the attorneys that work for the city and the county, they've been in little meetings with people and have made their own little good old boy deals, and now nobody gets in trouble for thousands of meetings. Oh, and they spent $500,000 on outside law firms to certify it was okay for them to not get in trouble. So just everything is shucking us dry. Everything is a giant scam. And here in Austin, they just come and take people's property, pay them in some cases nothing, call it an environmental preserve, and they don't even wait 5 years now. In 2 years, they turn around and sell it and take the restrictions off. And then they have former mayors and people that own the banks that you've got to go to get the building money if you want the restrictions taken off. I mean, it's just absolutely a joke. They've certified our elections at the state level are fraudulent where I live. We're a UN model city. It's a joke. It's a joke. People have to realize we don't vote in Travis County. That's why it's so criminal. That's why they do whatever they want. We've got to realize how much trouble we're in. And I know you're listening all over the country and all over the world. I know the similar stuff's going on in your area. And they've said, yes, they violated the law. I mean, they could be in jail for years, huge fines, but they're going to defer that. And they're not going to get in trouble. So there you go, KXAN. Just, yeah, again, that's why we're in so much trouble, because these people get away with anything and everything. Now, I want to hear what you have to say about this if you're active duty military or police or a security contractor, because I know you've all been told this. I mean, everything that military man was just telling us, I already have in the news articles with links to where they admit preppers being put on no-fly list. Famous preppers from TV shows with no criminal record go get grabbed and thrown in jail and everything taken. No judge, no jury. They have the civilian inmate labor camp program. I've been to the urban drills. They admit they're training the Boy Scouts and others for gun confiscation. I've got the New York Times saying how great it is. I've got the new Army manual saying, preparing on how to lock down cities and move in incrementally, street by street, and take the guns. How to announce, turn your guns in, get your new government ID card, and you won't go to the FEMA camp. I mean, they're going to make examples of people. And what's terrible about this is you can't go to the FEMA camp. You have to resist this criminal takeover. This is Red Dawn that they're thinking about pulling on us completely. Not slow motion anymore, but hot. But then, even when you fight back, you're fighting back against poor soft kill victims full of deadly vaccines that drink fluoride and who are scared themselves and been ordered to do it. But it's just the way it is. And, you know, I just wish we could arrest Ted Turner. He's part of all sorts of crimes with the UN. And I've got a stack of news articles right here. Sunday Times of London, Billionaire Club and bid to curb overpopulation. All their programs putting stuff in the vaccines, the water. Wall Street Journal, millionaires try to shrink world's population, report says, in secret meetings. WorldNet Daily, secret billionaire club seeks population control. And then I got EcoScience, where they talked about the plan in the 70s to spike the air and water to sterilize us and kill us, and now they're doing it. Everything they talk about in this book, they were already implementing then. When was this written? 1970. I forget the date here. You think I'm joking? EcoScience. It's online. Read it. It's free. People scanned it. 1970. This is an updated 1977. There you go. I mean, I'm sorry reality's so crazy. Stalin killing 50 million. Lenin killing 25 million. Hitler killing 20 million. Mao killing 60+ million. Pol Pot killing 30% of the Cambodians. I mean, this is the way it works. Illuminati French Revolution. Over 1 million killed. This is what governments do. And if we don't get back to our forefathers who said we'll look out for this, who said you need guns to protect yourself from this, who said you better keep local control, it's all over. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. But again, if you're a new listener, go look it up. They have said publicly for 3.5 years, veterans are the #1 terror threat, and that's what the troops and police train to fight. Now, they're saying that because they know you're not going to go along. They know a lot of you have killed people or been around it, and you're not, and you've got guilt over wars and stuff, and they know you're not going to go along with the New World Order. Well, they plan to use the current military and police to hunt you down and kill you. That's why they're putting veterans on no-fly list. Veterans with no criminal records can't buy guns in many cases now. And all the military and police doing this, you're going to be on that list next too. It's time to just say no to this. Is there no orders you won't follow? Is there nothing you won't do? I'm going to shut up and go to Ken, Alan, Josh, and many others, but I want to hear from police and military right now. Or are people too scared and are just going to do whatever the New World Order says? Because it'll get more and more hellish until you're the one lined up getting shot in the pit by your bosses. 800-259-9231. It is tyranny and its takeover program that we're witnessing. If we give in to fear, they win. If we get back in their face, they go back in their holes. You got to back them off. We've got a bunch of recent Army, ex-Navy, private sector security. I want to hear from police and military. 800-259-9231. Are you going to follow orders to take guns? Are you going to follow orders to try to go and attack gun owners and people that know the New World Order is taking over? Are you going to collaborate with the New World Order out of just pure cowardice? Are you really that cowardly? Did they psychologically profile you when they hired you to be a coward so they know you will serve pure evil to the end? 800-259-9231. Are you getting similar information? Alan, who's private sector security, give us your quick take. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Taking my call.
Yes, sir.
What I'm seeing here, they're keeping it pretty quiet in the security sector. My grandfather's in intelligence, and he's bounced some ideas off of me as well. What he has told me is what he sees happening is more of a modern-day siege warfare. The idea is really kind of to sit back, let people run out of supplies. He knows that that's going to break loose with chaos. You're going to see people... there's going to be looting, rioting, shootings. People are going to run out of food, and they're going to come to the military for help.
And then Homeland Security, well, that's what the military man was just telling us. Our source, Mr. X, Soldier X. No, that's the plan. And then those of us that do have some food and water and guns, we're terrorists. And they're going to tell the public they've got food, they're terrorists. And the general yuppie scum will cheer as we're being hung at sports stadiums. I'm telling you.
Exactly. And what he's seeing is, what they're going to do is they're going to let all this happen for, 5 or 6 months. And the military is going to lay back, let it all happen. And through the chaos, after everyone starts running out of ammo, because there's people storing thousands of rounds. And, as someone who's done a lot of shooting, thousands of rounds can run out very quickly. Once all this stuff starts running out, all these people are going to be begging for help. And that's when the military is going to roll in. And when this happens...
That's what they're doing. The Euro admits they're imploding that to totally have them go under EU dictatorship. The countries are being forced to sign over their final sovereignty. And have you seen the new EU sign? Kurt and Emma wrote about it. This is on the official EU site. It's a giant star with a hammer and sickle at the top, with hammers and sickles all over it. I mean, hammers and sickles. I mean, what more do we need here?
Exactly. And what this is going to do, this is going to give the troops kind of the moral high ground when they roll in, because they're going to think, oh, we're just running in trying to help. That's exactly what they did in Katrina. They didn't run into Katrina immediately as soon as things set off. They waited. They laid back for things to get crazy. And then a lot of the troops were thinking, well, if we're taking guns, we're helping people.
Exactly. And they sat there and jammed the police communication so things would break down. I appreciate your call. A lot of times we get a lot of current military and police calling in. We're not getting that right now. We've got recent Army, Josh in Florida, then Ken, Guy, Dave, and others. Josh, you're on the air. What's your take on what we're breaking down here?
Hi, Alex. Yeah, I just want to say I've called you before and I'll contact you about being an Iraq veteran. We use naked body scanners in Iraq. We use the pat-downs. We use all that stuff. And that's coming over here.
No, MIT said this was the model and it would be in America, that we're going to live, like living in America will be like living in Fallujah. I mean, this is what it's going to be like. You go to the grocery store, they're going to grope you there. You give them a problem, they're going to spray bullets into you up against the wall. This is the takeover.
Yes, and I want to verify a couple of things you've been mentioning. Yes, you're right. As military, I could definitely see the reason why we're such a threat. We've been trained how to shoot. We're physically fit. We have first aid training. We're trained in urban warfare. We're trained on how to collect intelligence and how to report it. So, yes, and I feel guilty being in the Iraq war after coming back from it. I went to occupy Miami for months with the wars and the Fed sign because I was so pissed off about it because I felt so upset by it. So, yeah, we're not going to go along with the New World Order. And one last thing about the pigs, the Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, Spain. If they would have realized and known that, what their country was doing to what the banks were doing to them beforehand, that maybe they would have been collapsed if they would have resisted.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. We're different because of the Second Amendment. We may be able to stop this, but the globalists see, hey, they got a Second Amendment. Let's just collapse it, let them kill each other. It is just so horrible. And we've got to have military and police start speaking out now. If enough people start speaking out, even anonymously, it'll gain critical mass and we can back this off. We've got power if we use it. Good to hear from you. Let's go to Ken in Minnesota, former Navy. Give us your quick take on that. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex. Long-time listener. God bless you and your staff for the work that you're doing. You're true patriots. And for your staff and for your listeners, I want you to all listen real close because this is going to ring a bell here. Mike Adams sat in for you, Alex, back on August 6th. And I recall Mike talking about how they want to make the veterans look like the bad guy. He was so really right and so correct about that. On Monday, August 13th, 2012, this year, the TV series Major Crimes, which is an offshoot from The Closer on the TNT network, premiered its first episode, and it was from 9 to 10 Central Time. Just a week after Mike Adams brought the subject up on the veterans being the villains, the TNT network allowed this trash to be seen by the public. It was, as an honored discharged veteran, I was pretty serious about this. And I've just noticed as I get on...
Sir, they've got more than 10 new TV shows, ABC, NBC, CBS, TNT, all of them, where veterans are murdering terrorists that hurt children, and the police come and take them out. And the good military comes and takes them out. And they show the public now, we're going to have a war with the veterans. Just like before 9/11, they had TV shows about Al-Qaeda. I'm telling you, this is how they are preparing the minds, prepping the minds for a civil war. And the average cops, just like the general public, so dumbed down. They're like, well, if it's on TV, veterans are bad, Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, and if anybody wants any more proof of that, if you have like on demand, all you got to do is punch in on demand. Look up.
What did they do on the show?
They showed his guys coming into a town there, and they're just blasting up a bank and all this, and they're digging into it, and it outright makes the veteran look like the bad guy.
Well, of course. They admit the government pays for that. They pay for pro-Obama messages, government-run healthcare messages. I mean, they really want to take over. They think they can do it with a civil war, just like they're starting to Shiite Sunni civil wars in the Middle East. Good to hear from you. Again, we normally can load the phones up with police and military, current, who call in and speak out against all this, or can confirm, some of the things we're talking about or deny it. I already know it's all true. Is there no order? Police, would you kill your children if ordered to? Probably, some of you. I mean, that's where this goes. Would you send your daddy to the FEMA camp because he doesn't love the New World Order? I mean, that's the question. 800-25-99231. I know we've got the phones loaded with former military and police. I want to hear from current. I'm not knocking all these people. I just want to hear from current. Dave in Florida, ex-Air Force, then ex-Army, ex-Marine. God bless you, sir. Go ahead. What's your take on all this?
I'm Air Force retired. I was a contractor for Northrop Grumman for about 6 to 8 years. And I'd like to back up what that soldier said. I've been purged out of the system also because I believed in the New World Order, and I would speak out against it. So I've been unemployed for over 3 years. So like when you see them announce on TV that they're setting up world government, you would speak out against it, and they said, that doesn't exist, you're fired. No, they didn't fire me. They laid us off, and they terminated the contract.
Well, they build a lot of the components now in China and places, so they don't need you anymore.
Well, that's true. And I worked in weapons systems, so I did a job that I monitored a lot of stuff. And I worked with radar, basically, and in the Gulf of Mexico. And we could trace every aircraft that flew in the United States. They have a program that traces this. Many people don't know this. For 9/11, all that is bullshit.
You can tell we have a lot of military callers here. The cuss words are flying. We have to delay that out. Yes, we understand it's Bravo Sierra, or how do you say it? And we don't need any more of that. Yeah, of course, they ordered the transponders off, turned them all off. They're all hardwired is what you're saying, and it's pure baloney.
What I did was when aircraft crashed, I sent the rescue planes to find them because, when their transponder stops, we send out aircraft to find them. Like the Hendricks Motors thing that crashed in Alabama.
So what's your take on all this? Do you think they're going to try to cause a civil war and have the Patriots and the police kill each other? Or is this all just more conditioning?
Well, I think they're going to crash the dollar first. And then the people will do whatever they have to because in Katrina, which I've seen, they, cut off the food and water supply and the power, and then they can control the people. They'll control the highways. I also went after the military, and I wanted to get into emergency management training because I wanted to help people. And when I found out that they did all this stuff and took control of the people, I couldn't do it anymore. I also went and trained for TSA, passed all the stuff, and then when they gave me the questionnaire, I was never given an interview because I wouldn't molest people.
That's right. No, they do that. They find molesters. God bless you, sir.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
All right, John is in Wisconsin listening on 1520 AM. We didn't even know that was an affiliate. We're getting so many. And he's former Special Forces, going to give us his take on all this. I have clips I can play right now of Army troops saying they will kill Americans in Katrina and did go to houses and take the guns. I have video of it. So don't forget, that's the default position, and we have the training manuals. And this is the problem with big government. People that love big government and say it's going to help people. It allows tyrants to get in and have questionnaires and things and hire people that will do anything they're told. And we're in a lot of trouble. I mean, the globalists can sit back while there's a civil war in this country, and that is their plan. Go ahead, John in Wisconsin, and make your point on this, sir.
Well, the closest thing I can compare this to is, I don't know if you've ever actually seen the show Jericho.
Yes, I saw one episode of it where contractors within the government nuke cities to bring in martial law to pose as saviors and then try to round up the patriots.
That's about where you're at. I mean, it's just a matter of time.
What do you make of how bold and crazy this is, though?
Well, there's so many things that I've seen that would blow your mind, you know, just how we treat other people in their own country. I can only imagine if this turns on to us. I don't know. I hope that the American spirit will, you know, do what it always does.
Well, look at what they've gotten away with. Sodium fluoride in the water, chemtrailing us. NSA admits they're illegally spying on us. The government funds Al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria. Ted Turner goes on TV and says, I like troops committing suicide. They need to. They're bad people. I mean, did you hear that clip when I played it? And then that's 2 days ago, and no one even talked about it.
Well, there's a lot of people that probably, you know, they don't want to believe it. But I mean,
that's what I mean, though. But I mean, the EU just came out with their new symbol, and I saw this and didn't believe it when I looked on the official EU site. It's a giant star with hammers and sickles. I mean, it's like the troops need to kill themselves, hammer and sickles, the family's bad, forced inoculations, world government's good. Have you heard the newscast where they announce we're under world government now?
I have not. I to be honest with you, every time I turn on, you know, go to look at anything online, it just, I wonder what the hell I even did over there.
No, I hear you. I mean, what about your buddies or people? I mean, are they waking up? Are they concerned?
Well, it seems like everybody is. I mean, it's just, I honestly believe, I hadn't actually seen that show Jericho, but I have Netflix and I seen it on there and I kind of read what it was about and I turned it on and I mean, this is basically about, I mean, it's just a matter of time. We all know it. We've seen, you know, if you could see the way that we treat people in their own country, if we were to get treated like that, I mean, I don't know. It's only a matter of time before they start eliminating. I'll be on the first of the list.
Well, that's the deal. It'll be easy when they go after the first high-value target list, but after that, people aren't going to wait anymore. They're going to come for the idiots that follow these illegal orders. This is a death sentence to the police and military that try to execute this. Within 1 week of launching these operations, they will notice a complete shift, and it will be open season. And I don't want it to go there. I don't get some thrill about thinking about hundreds of thousands of dead military and police. Well, you were in special forces in Iraq. From your military perspective, I have historical perspective, plus how our country was founded. I mean, do you concur that there will be massive resistance to this?
Well, I would hope that there is. I mean, we're cowboys. That's what we are. We're American. We say sir to nobody.
Well, it's all, we got a bunch of commie New World Order globalists running us, and they're offshore, and they want to bring this country down. The answer to this is not have this civil war. Insider billionaire investors like George Soros and John Paulson have recently made massive moves into gold, purchasing what Bloomberg News described as gold hoards. Soros alone doubled his holdings in a single day. Russia's Vladimir Putin has doubled down on gold, increasing the country's holdings by over 100%. With $1.8 trillion under management, the bond king Bill Gross, the world's preeminent bond fund manager at PIMCO, has warned investors of the dangers of QE3 and inflation. And what's he betting on? You guessed it, gold. Friends, this is Alex Jones for MidasResources.com. For more than 15 years, I have exclusively used Midas Resources for all my precious metal needs. Whether it's bullion or collectibles you're looking for, Midas Resources is simply the best. I own my gold as a hedge against inflation. This Federal Reserve fiat currency could go the way of the Deutschmark and the Weimar Republic anytime. In these historically dangerous times, it makes sense to physically hold gold and silver. Midas already has some of the best deals in the industry. But if you give them a call and mention the radio special, they will give you a list of the day's super specials. Midas brokers are standing by to answer all your questions at 800-686-2237. They also have a lot of informative free literature explaining the opportunities and risk of holding precious metals. They are ready to answer your questions at 800-686-2237. Again, that's 800-686-2237. Scott is anonymous, not saying where he's calling from, active police. And we want to get his take on all this. I mean, you have to understand, I don't just have some National Guard guy on saying they're being told to get ready for gun confiscation and martial law and shutting down infrastructure. I have the executive orders. I have the new Army training manuals. I've shot the video. I've talked to the other sources. I have the Army Times. This is all hiding in plain view because when they get ready to actually go operational, pull the trigger, they have to go ahead and roll it all out. And see, that's the thing. This has always been hidden. This is now rolling out. Now, that may just be some new psyop because let me tell you, this is not going to go well for the government. Most people will roll over, 5 to 10% or not, and it is going to be devastating. The globalists couldn't even hold Baghdad. But see, that's the plan. The globalists sat offshore. The plan was to tear up Iraq and tear up our troops. See, when you understand it's chaos they want, then you're like, oh, I get it. Let's go to Scott, an anonymous active police officer. What do you think of all the stuff being covered here? Do you agree? You disagree? What's your take on it?
I absolutely agree with you, Alex. And first of all, I want to say God bless you for what you're doing, and we need many more people like you. As far as I can see, I've been a police officer in a Class 1A city on the East Coast for approximately 10 years. And I can tell you from the people that I've encountered on a vast majority basis, my coworkers, that if believe it or not, this city is incredibly liberal. But the majority of the police officers are not going to, at least in this city, rank and file, follow orders. They are waking up exponentially. We have an incredibly large veteran population within our ranks. And what we have noticed is in the past several months, maybe a year at the most, there's a lot more federal police officers doing their supposed job in our city. But there's just a lot more. We encounter a lot more activity.
Sure. Let me just stop you. I want to hold you in the next segment because some stations don't carry this segment, and what you're saying, officer, is so important. That's it. I see giant black armored trucks that say Homeland Security. I see police cars, little trucks, medium-sized trucks, Suburbans, and cops all over are getting these little federal ID cards to be like little deputies of the feds. It's InfraGard with the citizens, all that. The churches suddenly have these weird federal consultants in them telling them what to say. It's a total takeover because they know most police are good people because they live in the real world. They're just bringing in their own goons.
Absolutely.
Wow. So I mean, continue to elaborate on this.
It's just my a very humble viewpoint, just things that we observe. And, you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. You don't want to be too vocal because then you're going to be labeled as one of those nuts. And we're under so much scrutiny as it is. Even they go so far as, you go to work and start talking about, watching the Prepper show on National Geographic and, you don't know who's listening. And it's just ridiculous. The paranoia. And as a matter of fact, 2 months ago, we had a briefing, a roll call briefing with some of our officers that are stationed with the Department of Homeland Security. It's like they're detailed there, but it was all about the Fusion Center. And I couldn't believe it. They gave us pamphlets of their goal, their mission, what they're doing, how our technology is linking up to that. And it's just, it's unbelievable.
And by the way, you're only being told a fraction. If you can, stay with us 5 more minutes because I want you to come back, recap, and get into that. But we know via congressional releases what these fusion centers do. They don't tell the rank and file police. They pick minions to be part of the system, the Intelligence Bureau, the SWAT team, others who are brought, the special response teams, the special event teams that are basically federalized. They dial into your cell phone location. They can dial in, hit one button, and listen to what you're doing.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
We're continuing with your phone calls right now. We're going to go to a police officer who's waiting patiently on hold right now, active in a major East Coast large city. National Guard whistleblower, Doomsday preppers will be targeted as a terrorist. And then everything this current serving low-level officer in the Army told us is all broken down in our story, where here's an Army manual, here's preppers not allowed to fly, here's preppers being arrested for no reason. Here's government training manuals saying preppers are bad. Since when is seeing the world rot around you, trying to get self-sufficient, trying to get some food, trying to have a garden, trying to have a water filter, trying to get some extra ammo? I mean, that's all culture. The Swiss do that. The Dutch do that. Since when is that bad? In Israel, they do that. The Mormons have done that. Since when is this so demonized? And now, we broke this when, well, a state police officer sent me one document, a federal marshal sent me the other, 1 week apart. The media for a week said it wasn't real, and then later had to admit it was. Here was the Washington Times on it. Napolitano stands by controversial report, April 16, 2009. She stands by the report which lists returning veterans among terrorist risk in the U.S. No, they say number one. Now you see it openly. Yes, they're the terrorist. Now, I've actuaried this out. I've broken it down. The only thing it could be is an attempt to wipe out the military and police and the American people in some type of civil war, and the preparations all show that, and the NLE national level exercises the last 4 years in a row publicly say they want to use foreign assets. So we've seen this in areas of Europe under Gladio. We've seen this in the Middle East, getting Shiite and Sunni to kill each other. The New World Order model is civil war. And they're getting the police ready for it. I mean, they've been secretly for about 5 years saying veterans will IED you. You will be bombed by veterans. Now that's been publicly admitted. The Army Times writes, yes, police, you will face veterans that will try to blow you up on the highway. Well, only if you went and arrested their daddy and put them in a FEMA camp. I mean, you'll have to start the Civil War for that to begin. And the last thing we want is this to happen. This is what the globalists offshore want. What did you see Ted Turner 2 days ago on CNN? I'm going to play the clip if you don't believe me. He said, I'm glad. Let me give you the exact quote. He said, I think it's good. He goes, I think it's fantastic. Well, didn't say it stopped. He said, I think it's good. Fantastic. He got really happy. He goes, I think it's good U.S. troops are killing themselves. That's a quote. They hate you. They want to use you and then get rid of you. Now, if they can give you a psychological test, find control freaks, that's what they want. Going back to the police officer, Scott, who's anonymous, East Coast in a major, Big Ten city, in his words. Recap what you were telling me. Get into the threat fusion centers. You were talking about the federalization because you were saying, I mean, to repeat, most of the officers are awake now, so they're just bringing in feds. Break that down for us.
It's just my personal observation. We're seeing a lot more federal police officers in the city, under the guise, in my opinion, of, doing their undercover job. We'll get a lot of calls of, have all, marked units stay out of a such and such area a lot more often. Now, it very well could be, that they're setting up, operations that are in their scope of duty, but just in the past few months, the amount of the federal officers that we see on a daily basis is highly increased. And it's just that the pulse of the department is there's a lot more distrust, not only with the local and state governments, but just with the federal government and their inept ability to take care of the population if something, we'll just say it like Katrina would happen. And the burden on our shoulders to I mean, honestly, in our city, we're on the verge of chaos on a normal day. And the cliche of the thin blue line between anarchy and chaos in this city is absolutely true. And one small tipping point of a natural disaster or a federally created disaster would be absolutely overwhelming, and the police in the city would not do anything as far as the majority fall into the rank and file of anything that they wouldn't believe. I mean, there would be a mass exodus to your homes to protect your family, and so we're not too sure with the marked increase of the federal police, if they would hinder our exit from the city, if they would.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's what they did in Katrina. They wouldn't let anybody leave. I mean, the sheriff sat there for 5 days under orders while his mother had a cell phone that she kept charged, had enough battery. And he talked to her for 3 days, and he couldn't come. He got there in 5. She was dead. Her phone went dead in 3. And his mother in a nursing home with 2 feet of water begging the sheriff, and he took the federal orders and let his mother die. I mean, I'm sorry. my mother's dying, begging for help. You better not get in my way. And that was what's so evil. Let me ask you this. Again, I mean, I know you're a police officer. I know you've been given this training or read about it where they say the veterans are going to attack you with IEDs. That's been nationwide training for at least 5 years. Do you concur with my analysis that this, if they do try to pull something and do this, that it's designed to just wipe out the American people? Because it's not something that anybody's going to win. There is no winning in this. The only way you win is not having it happen. But if they try to send the police or anybody to try to take guns, I mean, it is a death sentence. Or do you disagree with that?
No, I absolutely agree with that, and it's going to be one of their tools that they're going to use to have the people chew each other up while they just sit back. Absolutely. And on your comment that you made about the veterans being vilified, it wasn't too long after you had talked about it several months ago, I believe, that I couldn't believe the timing. We had a active shooter exercise at one of our local school campuses. And it was just kind of hilarious. No, I don't want to, not really hilarious, but coincidental, we'll say, that the active shooter who was being portrayed, the police officer who was the active shooter, the bad guy, was dressed in Desert Storm fatigues, the whole 9 yards. He was dressed as a returning PTSD snapped veteran. Unbelievable.
And here's the deal. There's enough veterans on Prozac and stuff they've put them on who then hear about these drills and see it on the TV where it'll actually make them think to do it some. But more than that, they've backed off on these some because it's so outrageous. But I'm not joking. You can pull up the AP article from like 6 years ago. People got so upset in Michigan, and they said, well, it's a federal mandated drill where they had guys in camos say they were militia killing the little kids, elementary kids, part of the drill, drilling, killing them, not really killing them, saying we are citizens against public education. And again, it's just pure role-playing demonization. But yeah, no, that's the drill. What you saw was mild. Have you ever had FEMA come in and teach you that George Washington's bad?
No, we haven't had that yet. But this city's so liberal. I mean, and we'll just say that this city has incredibly close ties to the founding fathers.
Okay, so you're in, Philadelphia then? All right, well, yeah, I guess it is kind of hard to demonize the founding fathers in Philadelphia. They sure do it in Kansas City. I got footage of it. And the cops are sitting there shaking their heads a little bit, but it's just insane. The firefighters actually started speaking up a little bit. Well, anything else you'd like to add to people? Because, I don't see this working. I don't see them getting the guns unless the plan is, like you said, everybody chewing each other up.
Yeah, I really don't see how they're going, unless it's some, absolutely amazing type of, door-to-door martial law situation, getting the guns, rounding up the guns. It's not, I guess, a stretch of the imagination to say it's possible, but it would be incredibly hard and it would be incredibly messy.
Well, yeah, if 1% of 170 million gun owners, that's what it's up to now, if 1% fought, that's 1.7 million. How many veterans are there? 30 million in this country? A lot of them are just absolutely, being restrained from violence at this point. If 1% of 30 million fight, that's 300,000. I mean, can anybody imagine what this is? I mean, that is the New World Order time bomb. We've got to be smarter. I forget which James Bond movie it is where, he shows two fighting fish kill each other and then the other one opens the door and it lives. It's like, see, we have them kill each other. That's the basis of the New World Order system. What's your take? Did you hear the Ted Turner clip we played where he said, quote, I think it's good U.S. troops are killing themselves?
It's just sickening. It's just sickening. To somebody like that, I mean, the platform that he has no credibility as far as I'm concerned. But you're right. It's just sickening.
But the bigger story is, how is it not a national news story? This happened 2 days ago, and we just learned of it, and no one's covered it.
Oh, you're right. It doesn't surprise me with it just doesn't surprise me.
Well, God bless you. Just to recap, because you were in the other segment, and some stations don't carry that short little first 5 minutes, you are saying that people are waking up in amazing numbers of other police.
Absolutely, and it's nice to go to the local Red Box and the different places and to see these Infowars stickers all over the place, and I'm seeing a lot more of them. So, Alex, continue your work. God bless you, and hope you keep yourself and your family safe.
Thank you. Yeah. And again, I'm all in with my family. The only way we're making it is we defeat these people. A lot of people say, man, aren't you worried? You know what? I believe in God. And that's really the difference between who I am and who people are that serve this system. A lot of people serve evil because they're afraid of it. I am afraid of giving into it. And, you know, I look at my children, how innocent and good they are, and I just say, God, it's in your hands, man. But, you know, I certainly don't need some Job-like test, I'll tell you that. I'm a bad man compared to somebody like Job, and I know a lot of you are as well. But we love God, we love good, and we have to do the right thing. I mean, this America's greatest test is here. And, I mean, I'm telling you, we've got a vicious group of criminals in charge of the government. They carried out Fast and Furious, for heaven's sakes. I go to Josh in Florida, former Marines, listening on 1340 AM WTAN, one of our great affiliates. Josh, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
Good.
Fantastic.
Speak up a little bit. You're real low.
I'm listening to you at the moment. I'm wrapped up in what you're talking about. I came into the middle of the conversation. Can you catch me up a little bit?
Well, no. I mean, we've got the military openly training to confiscate guns. That's in their new manual. And we had a guest on who's in the Army National Guard here in Texas. He gave us all his info, and we documented it. They're telling them preppers are going to be the terrorists that they've got to round up, basically.
I got you. You know, I went through Marine Corps training for a little bit. You know, everything was based on combat at first, and you kind of get the impression you're serving that greater good. I'm a younger guy myself, so I'm kind of just now coming out of all of that fog. But what was amazing, as I keep hearing you give the information you give on a daily basis, I connect these dots to these experiences. I never thought I'd need to remember for any kind of relevance past the combat situation. But
well, no, that's why the military and police, even if they hear I'm crazy, they tune in, they go, no, wait, that did happen, just like he said. Of course, I've been on this for, look, when I'm sort of getting sent footage by listeners of troops training to confiscate guns, and the role players were saying, I'm an American, I have rights, you can't do this in America, I said, man, there's a takeover plan afoot. Now, we're 14, 15 years later since I discovered all this, and it's out in the open now. But it's 50 times bigger in a force continuum than it ever was before. The point is, it used to be way down the road. Now it's right in my face. It's right in your face. And so thank God we got the jump on it. But I'm telling you, it's here.
Well, you're right about that. That for me, gives a very good example of the compartmentalization that it's taken me this long. I did that training almost 10 years ago now. I've been listening to you for maybe about 5. And again, things that you talk about on a regular basis maybe would have been things that I experienced during training or something else that I never would have even thought of again had they not been discussed later on and then connected in some way with the things you talk about.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, just being aware. And people aren't dumb in this country, and God bless you, thanks for the call. They're compartmentalized. They're focused on things that don't matter, or things that do, like trying to pay their power bill or whatever, or their car bill or their kid's doctor bill. You know, that's why they want to keep us all poor, so that we're so busy just trying to make it, you know, the rat race, that we can't focus on anything else. But once you've studied history, this stuff happens over and over again. Once you look at what's currently happening, and once you just start reading officer manuals and things that are restricted but not classified, you know, that end up, I mean, the Army is so ham-fisted, folks. They put a lot of these out on their official websites and then reclassify them later. That happens a lot, where they reclassify something because they're like, what did you do? Why'd you put that out? You know, because people have private servers and public servers. So this stuff's everywhere. When you've got hundreds of thousands of personnel being given training and things over the years, this stuff's going to get out there. And so that's what's happened. People always say, well, this conspiracy this big, it would come out. It has come out. Just the question is, will we have the nerve to admit how bad this is? Let's go ahead and talk to Mike in Alabama, ex-Marines and Army. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
I'm a former Marine. I served a year in Vietnam, and I served another 10 years later on in the National Guard. And when I was taking some of my political science courses in the 70s, we had a video, and they had a major senator on there. One, you know, back then you would have recognized him as being a key senator. And they were asking him, why do you pass so many laws? You pass thousands of pages of new laws every year. And he kind of laughed, and he said, well, it's like this. The average law-abiding citizen goes to work, goes to church, pays his taxes, commits 2 to 3 misdemeanors a week and 1 to 2 felonies a month, and they don't know it. We can figure we can follow anybody around for a week and arrest them for something. And then not long ago, John Stossel had a kind of a follow-up on that, and he said the average American now commits 2 to 3 felonies each week, and you're not even aware of it.
Yeah, no, we spend all our time trying to make sure we're following every unconstitutional garbage law because they'll set us up. And if they ever do set us up, you can know, folks, it was a setup. We are so clean here. It's ridiculous, and everything's a crime now. You're absolutely right. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
No, that's it. I mean, a lot of people are waking up here now. I mean, my family...
Hold on, I want to hear about that briefly, then we'll go to 4 or 5 other callers. Tom in Illinois, ex-Army and pastor. What is your take on the admitted Army manuals for, quote, re-education camps, gun confiscation, preppers being put on no-fly list and being told you can't fly because you're a prepper? And, you know, we were at your meeting and we're watching you. Prepping's illegal, even though it's not. I mean, why would they want us to not be prepared and self-sufficient? No, they want us all begging for Obama phones, folks. That's what slavery's all about. Slaves aren't self-sufficient. The Soviets shut down economies, the communists, the fascists. Go ahead. You're on the air, Tom.
Thanks, Alex. I found you a couple weeks ago, and I got to tell you, you depressed me and my wife last week, but I feel like I'm awake, and I appreciate what you're doing out here. Have a friend who stayed in the military for over 20 years, and he's away from his family now and sort of has gone underground, has me a little worried. 2 years ago, are you there?
Yes, sir.
2 years ago, and I never thought about some of the stuff you're saying that went on until I got a hold of your stuff. But two years ago, driving to Springfield, Illinois, from southern Illinois to go do a hospital visitation, there was a double to triple blockade on the major interstate. Guys with naval binoculars on overpasses, and they were stopping vehicles, and they said it was a drug stop. But they searched every inch of every car they stopped, taking guns and all kinds of stuff. And my brother was part of the cleanup crew, didn't know about that till a month later. And he said, hey, did you know what was going on in Interstate 55? I said, no, yeah, I drove through it. And I said, how did you know about that? I said, you don't live around there, that route. And he said, I was one of the guys who was on the cleanup crew for this organization. And he said it wasn't just about drugs. And it just kind of thought back to that when I found you on the internet, and I wasn't even looking for you. And but I thought you looked familiar, and I remember you from some show. I can't think of Brad Meltzer show. You showed up on that, and so I recognized your face. And I thought if Meltzer gives this guy credit, then I am. And then Mancow, I saw that thing, and I thought, okay, this guy has some credibility. And so some things I'm seeing out here with ex-military friends, like I said, my friend going underground, that blockade on a major interstate where there's nothing in between Springfield and St. Louis. I mean, there's literally just cow pastures and fields, corn. And so I'm a little freaked out. And so one of my questions is, what do you tell a guy? I'm not in a tiny, small town, but I'm in a relatively big area in southern Illinois. What do you tell people like us? I mean, if I believe that martial law could happen.
Well, what they're doing is they're incrementally bringing us into martial law in the public schools, thumbprinting to buy and sell, parents showing IDs, thumbprinting to get in, TSA now at malls, highways, military checkpoints all over the country, and they just do them to make sure the local cops are going to go along with it. That's really to assess and watch everybody. They do urban warfare drills, Delta Force drills everywhere to acclimate people. I mean, really, we're just being trained. The globalists are psychologists. So it's Skinnerian, Pavlovian, operant conditioning. And once you understand that, again, they're brainwashing the police, the military, the local constabulary, the media, just to where we've all seen this so many times over and over and over again that we just basically get acclimated to accept it all. And so you just, explain to people the TSA is there to break your will and train you to be a slave. And now they search people after the checkpoint. Now they take your food and test it in your water when they see you buy it, you know, at the McDonald's or Burger King or Starbucks. They right in the line they do it. And it's about, well, this makes no sense. Well, that's the point. You do whatever I tell you. If I tell you jump, you ask how high. Is that clear, scum? You know, this is the basic takeover, because the globalists have said they're going to implode the world economy while posing as the savior in steps, because they've learned they can get away with that, because they want you poor. They want NAFTA and GATT was meant to deindustrialize us. Everything is to bring us into a one-world government. And so, sorry, go ahead.
In Illinois, I interact with a lot of police officers. And one thing I've noticed in the last year to 2 years is that the state police are real standoffish and acting very funny. That's my opinion. You know, I might get pulled over for a speeding ticket every once in a while. Cops are generally nice. Sometimes you get out of it, sometimes you don't. But the state police are, in my opinion, generally acting very funny lately.
Yeah, no, in Illinois, you got some pretty serious state police. It's all mafia run, and they're the ones that are anti-gun. They've really picked in Illinois a nasty crew, and that's what it is. I mean, the state police in most states pretty much are federalized, because the New World Order can't do this if the state police are under their control. You know, the state police a few years ago tried to stop unspeakable Jerry Sandusky type stuff at the Texas Youth Commission, and the state police wouldn't stop investigating it, so they just replaced the director of it. I mean, that's the problem with all this, is that bad guys are in charge on top, and we are in so much trouble. I don't have words to describe it. Thank you for the call. You know, I've got to get to this again because I've been mentioning it, and we're going to get that Ted Turner clip ready, because this is such a big issue, and it ties into eugenics. It ties into population reduction. It ties into the massive suicide rates of the troops. They know 3, 4, 5, 6 tours will really damage psychologically a lot of people. Then they put them on Prozac, and that is a hallucinogen-based system, and then you will get some psychotic breaks, which are the vast minority of troops. I mean, I can't believe they can stand up to what they've been put through. Most people couldn't. So, I mean, I really commend how much they've gone through and held together this much. They're then going to demonize the veterans in general and take their rights away. And that's the beta test, okay? And they're going to flip the entire al-Qaeda narrative onto the troops. That's now happened. I mean, it is beyond sick. And here's Napolitano in the Washington Times saying, yes, the #1 terror threat is veterans. See, that's what they think of you. That's what they think of you. And now they're getting ready to try to make the police, fire departments, and others take forced inoculations under the Model States Health Emergency Powers Act. They're back with that now, starting with all the hospital workers. So look out and realize the government is not your friend. It is tyrannical. That's the norm in most countries. We've got a very nasty case of it. I mean, the country has cancer. I'm not, people say, well, don't be so negative. Look, we're not going to beat this if we're not honest about it. And it's very exhausting. I understand that it's scary for people to admit this, to deal with it. But, I mean, just look at every time there's a crisis or a problem. The government doesn't help. It makes it worse if it's the feds. Sometimes local government can do some good because it's local. It knows the people. It knows what's going on. And, you know, it wants to have the status quo and prosperity. The New World Order does not want prosperity for you. They want you poor. They want to shut down your economy. They want a post-industrial world. Let's go to X in California, X Special Forces, to give us his take on all this. Welcome, sir. Do you think the Doomsday preppers deserve to be rounded up and secretly arrested well, I guess executed, according to our military source? I mean, they're already putting them on a no-fly list and going after them. I mean, well, since when is it illegal to be a prepper, and since when is the government so tyrannical and treasonous-filled that they're openly teaching the military that the enemy is the American people?
Well, from our standpoint, I'm one of 47 who resigned from Delta Force a few years back, and it was due to the fact that we consider this all high treason. All high treason. And it's been implemented a lot earlier. You have done a great job, though, holding it off by exposing. And we consider you the front lines along with us.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add to the listeners?
Yeah. This has actually been in implementation since 2006. What they don't know is that they're intentionally, one of the reasons why we resigned, we found out that they were trying to keep our military forces abroad so they wouldn't be home for this conduct that they're committing right now. I can't go into a lot of details, but you have been on the mark, and it does rattle some chains. I was in Special Activities Division, and we got wind of certain things like Petrie Media Corporation. We knew what they were doing. They're just changing the faces. It's the same people at the top.
And what is their goal from what you were able to discover?
Well, they've been doing this when we went down to Central America. We saw the same things that they're doing now, but they're taking a different path with us, as they did down in Central America. When I was over in Somalia, we gave them the intel. They said that they were expendable. And we went back in on our own, and we tried to get as many out. This is going to be big. It's going to be big, and keeping it in a peaceful manner is the best solution. But if there's a way to keep some kind of deterrent with numbers, they see enough civilians armed, perhaps we might not be able to have to use that. No one wants to fight their brothers and sisters. Military vets that are over there, they were chasing ghosts in Afghanistan. We were over there a couple years before then, and later on we got intel that some of the Marines that were over there, we worked a little bit with SOG and so forth. They were telling us that they were looking for ghosts. I was like, well, I couldn't say anything. But there's no other reason than looking for the resources, let's say.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's a simulant. You go in, you kill enough innocent people, they're going to start fighting back. You call them Al-Qaeda. Meanwhile, real Al-Qaeda works for you. That's full spectrum dominance. You've got to create the conflict, even have an excuse to be there. And then I've talked to so many military people, and it came out in the news years after I was told this. They would go and say, this is the first time we're going to blow up this cave, and they'd been there 4 times the previous year with other media blowing up the same cave. Just total theater. None of it real.
Well, the UN Special Forces have been here for a while, as you know. They've had NATO here for a while. A couple of us who caught up with each other years later decided to go and look for ourselves as well. And you're right about FEMA camps. There's no reason to have the razor wire facing in, and they're actually manned and up and running.
No. We've listed some, like in Kansas and other places. They call them military police training facilities, but they're building giant areas. We've actually talked to insiders that sent us photos, videos. It's in the Army Times that they've set up emergency centers for collapse. It's called the Emergency Centers Establishment Act, which just legally increases funding for what's already been built. Well, good to hear from you. Anything else?
Yeah. The information you had brought up a few times I've heard about China, Japan, and our fleets over there.
Yes.
They were there in December of 2008, and the Chinese were actually interrupting the training, the flight simulations for combat, and they were flying right over the aircraft. They've been there since December 2008. This isn't new. This has been there for a while.
No, I know, but it's really building up. You're right. Well, listen, good to hear from you. Very interesting information. I know we got a bunch of other calls here. Let's just go to John in Ohio, and then I'll come back and hit some news. Just makes my head spin. Let's go ahead and talk to John, ex-Special Forces as well in Ohio. Go ahead, give us your take on all this.
Hi, Alex. I've been listening for a while. First time calling. I wanted to talk about, you've been bringing up how they want to demonize veterans.
Yes.
And I got a first-hand account of that. It's true. It's happening. I moved, when I came back, I moved to a small town to go to college. I was getting harassed by the police a lot. finally they raided me on with no warrant. I never saw a warrant. They were not dressed as police officers. They did not show badges when they came in. They were heavily armed, machine guns, guns drawn. I had a gun. At first, I thought someone was breaking into my house. I almost pulled it. So later they said that I'm lucky they didn't shoot me. They confiscated my gun. Now they say I can't have a gun.
Yeah, by the way, this is happening everywhere. No judge, no jury, no PSD. You just don't have a gun anymore. I mean, they just do whatever they want because they said so.
Right, and then so I contacted, a lawyer, and I dug into this, and the lawyer comes back to me and says that I'm classified when they run my name as a level 3 threat to contact higher authority. If local police run into me, to contact state police or SWAT team or something.
Yeah, that's what they do now. They just put everybody in databases. These databases have been ruled illegal, but the intelligence groups and police departments, all of them have these, and a lot of it's just lies. But no, it's no judge, no jury. That's the no-fly list. That's the no-gun buy list. That's just, you're on a list, you don't get a job now. That's the essence of authoritarianism. The IRS is announcing we're not going to let you have a job if we just say you owe. You can't leave the country. You can't take legal money out of the country now. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I know that I'm in a database. My lawyer told me I'm on a list. They think I'm an animal, and I've never committed a violent crime or a drug-related crime.
Did you kill a lot of people? Did you kill a lot of people in combat?
Yes, and he said that it
Hold on, I want to hear more of this. I want to hear more of it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Let me give you some numbers. H.R. 645, Emergency Centers Establishment Act. Army Regulation 210-35, Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program. FM 3-39.4, Internment Re-Education Camps for America. I mean, it's public. Where's all the mainstream media? I'm on stations all over the country. Where are local newspaper reporters? You're hearing this. You know that's authoritarianism. Call my bluff. Go read the articles. Go read the manuals that are on the Army website. And then, go to your editor and say, I'm going to write an article about the FEMA camps. Because, see, that's what stops them. People are like, well, that couldn't be true. I'm not going to look it up. No, it is true. It is true. John, real fast, because I got a piece of news or two I want to hit here. Look, it's not just you. I was talking to a famous professional football guy at a little party event, former famous UT football player. This guy's older. And he was like, yeah, trying to buy my grandson a 22, and they said, because I was in Vietnam, I couldn't have one now, and I'm on a list. I have no criminal record. And that's just how it is. You're an American enemy, so you don't get a gun. And they're just doing it. So, and they go tell these young cops or whatever that you're the enemy, and some of them buy into it. Most police are waking up because of this, but you're going to see some of the hopped-up troops go crazy, so that'll be the excuse. It'd be kind of like if a red-haired guy killed somebody, all redheads have to go to prison. Or if a black guy does something bad, all black guys got to go to jail. Or because a Japanese man does something bad, all Japanese men are bad. I mean, that's what authoritarianism does. Instead of the big corrupt globalists, they're the problem. They're the enemy. They're the issue. Anything else? What else did your lawyer tell you?
Well, it took me 3 lawyers. The first 2, they wouldn't tell me why, that I was classified like this and I was on a list. They wouldn't tell me that. It took, a lot of money and getting a big-name lawyer to come in from across the country to find this stuff out. And then he was willing to tell me, and he told me, he said, the police there, the local police, they're scared of you. They consider you armed and dangerous.
Well, that's because the feds tell them that all day, which is going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. God bless you. I appreciate your call. This is how they're going to try to start a civil war right here, harassing people. But, it was the same thing after Vietnam and other wars. That is so accurate. I guess, the writer of the movie First Blood, Sylvester Stallone, he wrote that. That's that story of the special forces guy walking through the town and the police chief says, let me take you to the end of town. Why don't you get out of here? I mean, that's exactly the type of stuff goes on. See, it's all how much they love the troops. But then they're all a bunch of cowards. Those type of people, they hate you because they're all into authority and power and dominating people, bad cops. And so the feds are going to come in and teach them, yeah, the military, the veterans, they're bad because they're scared of you. They are, and it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. You know, you send people off for these big illegal wars, they kill a bunch of people, and then you're scared of them. And then it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy, messing with them, where you're going to end up having to fight them. By the way, Jesse Ventura called me during the last segment. I need to call him back right when this hour ends and look for getting him on with some breaking news, probably tomorrow, or not Sunday or Monday. But man, I didn't get to some of the news in this hour. It's all up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Greece is just disintegrating. The Secret Service is now launching a task force on all the tweets and death threats. Secret Service sets up hotline for suspicious web post. But it's not suspicious. How about actual death threats? No, they'll harass people for saying the sky's blue. Watch. And a bunch of other key news on the economy. And this hurricane, we're going to be watching that. That's set to hit the East Coast. They call it the perfect storm. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.